I like Scott Fitterer a lot. I like Ian Thomas to a certain extent. 3 years, what, $17 million? Are you kidding me? I understand that apparently the tight end position is at a hot market right now. Guess what else is at a hot market
It's
right
inflating. It's inflating like gas prices right now.
now? Guess what else is high right
gas.
now?
What's high right now?
The car market,
Oh,
the
sorry.
housing market, the fucking the gas price market. Everything is hot right now with high prices. That doesn't mean that you go and accept that high price and give in. I understand Ian Thomas is a solid blocking tight end. Listen, I've gone on record saying multiple times, maybe not on this show and just speaking to other people, I thought Ian Thomas had a lot of potential to be a really, really good player. He was a late fourth round pick. He was raw, but his size, he looked like he could be something, maybe like an Antonio Gates light, something. I don't know. He could be somebody. He's not turned out to that at all. He's a good veteran. He's a good blocker, but you can't justify this contract to me. You can't. I don't care how good of a blocking tight end. I don't care who's good at what the tight end market is. I understand you have to pay certain people what the market sets them at. I could care less. You could pick a tight end in the 7th round to be a blocking tight end. This is a dumb move. F for me on this move. I can't justify this. I can't do it. You talk about trying to build cap and trying to save this, and now we're going back. We're restructuring contracts and backloading deals to clear up cap. And this was our first move of free agency. I don't have a problem bringing him back. The money is garbage.
All right. I'll say this.
Nope.
when this news broke, you and I exchanged a few text messages, and we basically agreed on everything you just said. And when I saw this deal, whatever it is, 3 years, $18 million, I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? Ian Thomas has done nothing to earn this money. This guy does not deserve this. Why would we pay him so much? But then I brought up this, sheet we're looking at here, and I'm starting to think maybe it's not so bad. If you look at some of the tight ends he's around as far as the pay scale goes, and some of these guys who are just above him, haven't received second contracts yet, so those numbers would be a lot higher once they get paid. It's not as bad as I thought, especially when you think it's, I believe, a 3-year deal. So once you get to the end of that, it's time to re-sign Tommy Trimble, and then he's our star tight end, ideally. So, and then also to go off of that, we know, because we've seen it, it hasn't always been there. The production hasn't always been there. We've seen what Ian Thomas is capable of, especially during his rookie season, when we thought he was going to be, like you said, Antonio Gates light. I agree with that. When I watched him as a rookie, that's exactly who I thought of. I thought of Antonio Gates. That's exactly who he looked like. The potential is there, okay? And the Panthers just brought in Ben McAdoo to be the offensive coordinator. He's very big on using the tight ends in the play action game, especially vertically, which I think could be a usage that's in Ian Thomas's skill set. We'll see what happens. I agree, Ian Thomas probably didn't really deserve a big contract, but this contract's not really as big as I thought it was, especially if you think by the time this contract's over, some of these names that you see here right above Ian Thomas, they're going to get paid again, and the tight end market's going to get reset again. So in 3 years, he's going to be a lot closer to the bottom. I don't think it's as bad as it felt when I first saw it. And I do think there's potential for this to be a good bargain for the Panthers if he's able to produce in Ben McAdoo's new offense. So I totally get where you're coming from. I felt the same way until I sat back and thought about it a little bit. I don't hate it as much as I thought I did.
I appreciate you trying to talk me off the ledge. I like some of the points you made. I agree. His rookie season, we did see some nice things, and we thought, hey, like this guy, he might not be, a top tier tight end, but good enough. And then it just kind of never happened. You would see flashes every now and again. Um, I agree. I think the contract isn't as bad as I think. It's just tough for me to justify that when I'm looking right now at two guys that were on the Panthers, Manhertz and Dan Arnold. Manhertz basically the same exact kind of player as Ian Thomas, making way less, the guaranteed contract, and then Dan Arnold making way less. I understand there are two different types of tight ends. That's two guys that were on the team that are making less. I mean, I understand, and if the potential's there, and if Ben McAdoo can turn it around and maybe make this guy a little bit better than what he's shown, then sure, it's not a terrible contract. When it comes to when I see us restructuring deals that we just did like a year ago, it makes me see things like this and just go, man, we're just really bad with managing these contracts and managing money. And it's just little simple things like that that could come back to bite you in the ass. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. From what I understand, Ben McAdoo really pushed for this because of his usage of tight ends, and he knows the type of player Ian Thomas can be. But I'll say this, man. First, you look at the Chris Manhertz deal. I think Ian Thomas is a better player than Chris Manhertz. He offers a lot more as a receiver than Chris Manhertz does. Chris Manhertz is a good blocking tight end. He's not going to catch many balls. Ian Thomas, I think, is capable of catching balls. Whether he's doing it or not is, a totally different thing. And then Dan Arnold, he was a very unproven player when we signed him last year. I think he's worth more than what his contract says he's worth right now. But I think that's just because we kind of got him as an unknown commodity. We got him as a steal last year. So, like I said, I don't really hate it. And I think, and this is just me watching as a fan. I don't have any insider knowledge on this. I feel like because Ian Thomas's usage dropped off so much after his rookie season, especially with different offensive coordinators coming in who didn't really use the tight ends as much, especially him. Well, I guess he was probably the one used the most, but tight ends just weren't really featured in their offenses. I think, and I know anyone who has ever played any sport can speak to this. Confidence plays a huge role. Consistency plays a huge role. If you are a shooting guard in basketball and you miss 6 shots in a row, it's going to be hard to get hot again, right? It's going to get hard. It's going to be hard to get out of that shooting slump. It's no different with a tight end who drops a few passes. I think Ian Thomas kind of let himself down a few times. He got hard on himself. He never really recovered. I think that's part of it. And then I think some of the consistency is part of it as well. If you, let's say the same thing, you're a shooting guard, but you're ninth man on the bench, eighth man on the bench, whatever. You don't see the floor hardly ever. You see the floor once every 8 games or whatever. If you don't get the opportunity to shoot a lot of shots, and then after 2-3 games, you finally get a shot at a shot, the moment is too big and you screw up. You airball because you haven't shot it in weeks. You haven't shot it in a real game in weeks. And I think it's the same thing when you're a tight end, running a seam route. You haven't seen that ball come your way in weeks. Suddenly, the ball's coming at you. It's 3rd and 12, and the whole stadium's staring at you. It's easy to drop that ball. It's easy to become Mr. Butterfingers. So I think between not getting a lot of opportunities and not making the most of the opportunities he did get really affected his confidence and ultimately impacted his performance to make him the bum-ass player that we all see him as. But I think he really does have the potential to be a good player in the right system, and I think this might be the year where he gets that opportunity. I think the front office knows that. I think the coaching staff knows that, and I think ultimately that's why they felt the need to give him this contract now, because he might have a breakout year, and all of a sudden we're talking about him getting paid like these guys on the top of the list.
I think he should have went to school for sports psychology.
There's just no money in it. Is there? I don't know.
I feel like there would be.
Well, that's what they told me about every job I ever wanted to do, so I assumed that there wasn't any money in that either.
Well, I'll give you credit. If you were a salesman and trying to get me to sign Ian Thomas, I would have just bought that because that was a very good pitch. And I don't disagree with you. I think tight ends that don't get the ball a lot, the X amount of times they get the ball, they probably drop it. Get hard on themselves, things like that. But, we'll see. I mean, if he can live up to it, I'm all about it. I mean, I was a huge Ian Thomas supporter. Still am. I mean, I'm not talking bad about the guy. I just didn't like the contract and the numbers. I just feel like it could be cheaper. But if he can get better and live up to some of that hype finally and just at least be an average tight end, this deal is not that bad. And we all know we're big fans of the Tommy Tremble show. So hopefully he gets better as well.
We've always been fans of Ian Thomas too. He just always lets us down.
Exactly. I think we've done – if we go back to like the off-season show we did before this about breaking down like positions, I'm pretty sure we both were like very excited about obviously Tommy Tremble and then Ian Thomas. Like I'm still a part of the Ian Thomas train. I would love to see it finally happen, but
No, I mean there's no argument against the way he's played over the past couple seasons. I mean he's just not been good enough. But at the same time, I think the reason we hold on to it is because we've seen what he can do. It just comes down to some of the things we talked about. He's just got to make the most of his opportunities. And if he can do that, and if he gets enough opportunities in this offense, he's got the athleticism, he's got the speed, he's got the ability. I mean, he's a really talented tight end, honestly. It's funny because since he's been in the league, by default, because he's been such an underachiever as a pass catcher, he's been kind of seen as a blocking tight end. But really, when he came into the league, they were like, how's this guy going to block anybody? He's too short. He's too stubby. His arms aren't long enough.
Which is really
why he's on Matt Rule's team. But that's the thing is he's overachieving in what he's supposed to be bad at. So if he could just do what he's supposed to do and start overachieving at what he's supposed to do, the potential is there for him to be a good tight end. So once I started weighing all these things, I didn't hate this deal the way I did when I first saw it, is what I'm saying.